Hey there guys, it's Kagetak coming at you, and you know what? I actually decided that we're gonna do this video today. We're gonna, where people told me how I should play the game and what battlefield I should go into. Well, I'm gonna do the exact thing that I bitched about for weeks. But here's a little caveat to it. These are recommendations. You don't have to take them, but if you want to potentially up your guild's chances of winning, coming from a guild that's only lost a single match, as pretty much a ragtag group that's come up out of nowhere, after like 6 or 7 months of playing. Well, technically now 8 months of playing the game. I don't know. Maybe my advice is kind of key. Well, let's see. Where did we rank last season? Where did we rank as a Battlefield 2 guild last season? Oh yeah, we got top 250. So okay, all the condescending BS out of the way. Let's actually get into it. So, here's a couple of things to think about overall in this game. Everybody knows it's broken up into 5 battlefields here. Let's take a look and see where the split is. Now, this is also something to be very mindful of. And a case in point example, I think Weavers of Fate is like usually like rank 1 or something for a guild raid team, and they usually hang in 4 because they are just completely outskilled against certain groups in tier 5, and they'd rather just get a win in 4. So there's no shame in that. There is absolutely no shame in that at all if you want to go for a better percentage to win. Because where are those guys on the raid leaderboard right now? Weavers of Fate. There's no shame in hiding from a superior team to win and to get better rewards for your guys. Yeah, they're rank 1 here. This is a Battlefield 4 team. These guys do Battlefield 4. They ranked 18th. That's still pretty good. They ranked 18th overall, and then Bloody Rose is ranked 2, and they ranked 1st. Because they are the true top dogs of war. Them, Alpha Legion, I think is also, they probably got pretty high too. Yeah, they got 2nd. So, there is no shame in that at all. So don't let anybody try and tell you, well, if you don't go into a higher battlefield, that's unfair to other. Screw them. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your guys. Don't worry what other people are going to think or say or judge you for how you play the game. But if you want to get an idea of how to up your win rate potentially, it's here. I will impart some of the wisdom I've learned over the seasons. I will say the first fight is always very dicey. It could be super one-sided because ultimately what is being pulled from generally is just the guild power overall. So if you have guys who have been in your guild inactive for like 15, 20 days, kick them. Get rid of them. They could always come back later. I know it's heartless, but that's number 1 right there. That's playing against you because the system is going to take that initial guild power number and it's going to use that number to calculate your opponent, which also sets the precedent for, I believe, the entire series to some extent. I know there's some sort of skill-based matchmaking as things go on, but if you got guys who don't log in, they're weighing you down. Now, if it's a level 20, not going to weigh down as much because, again, it's overall guild power. But if you got some guy who's like, level 40, level 55, or some other high level just sitting there, he's not doing you any favors. Because 1, it's a generic defender. 2, the power stacked against you. So these are things to look at. And I know everybody's going to run their guilds differently, but those guys don't do you any favors. You're better off having some, fresh level 20 or 30 player who wants to learn the game and play and be with you guys than hoping some other guy will come back who, could have some life issues or something. Stuff happens. It sucks, but it also depends how you play. If you're casual, what do you care? I mean, I get it. But if you're looking to be a bit more competitive or a bit more moderate in wanting to cover up some of these vulnerabilities, that's going to help you out. Now, the other thing to look at and consider here, outside of attendance, mind you, is where overall should you be? And that's the next step here. And that crashed on us. Beautiful. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick. Good times. Oh, there it goes. Cool. So, where should you overall go? Now, as you can see here, the spread is still predominantly level 1, 37-30. If you go to level 2, it's 75 more tokens if you win. Level 3 is 450. Now, if you don't have D3 teams or the capacity to fight Diamond 3 units, you're going to have a bad time in 3, 4, or 5 at some point. Now, I get some people saying if they're under the threshold, you could be safe from having to fight some teams. But here's what I've noticed that has happened. There's been scenarios where, because the guild, let's say in bracket 3 or 4, was stupidly low, like 20 mil power. Well, around match 4 or 5, when there stopped being the capacity to find a team in that bracket, because again, a 20 million power team in level 3 or 4 is the odd man out, essentially. You know, you're not going to find those type of guilds there. What happened was they got put against the opposite extreme, the one where they were fighting against a 100 mil plus power team, and they got absolutely train wrecked. People couldn't even, I think, clear like the front lines. So essentially, people got minimal tokens, next to nothing. It was a bad experience, and it demoralized a bunch of people. Why would you want to risk doing that to your guys for 75 more tokens? Because at the end of the day, the best thing you could do is just get the win box. The win box gives you a lot more than the lost box. You know, you get the legendary badge, you get the 12k XP book. You know, I know somebody has to be a winner, somebody has to be a loser, but ultimately, if you don't have the capacity to fight Diamond 3, you know, if you don't have the people for it, which we don't even have the people for it, and, you know, and where are we on the scale of power right now, out of curiosity again? We even looked to see how close we were. So we're at 37 mil power right now. We don't have enough people to field the rarity caps for Battlefield 3. We check. We're slowly getting there, but it's going to be a while. It's not an easy thing. I mean, this is for like guilds who have been playing for over a year or more to really do those higher battlefields to play at cap, which if you're looking to up your percentage to win, that's what you want to do. The cap in 2 is pretty easy to fill. You just need some gold units and silver for the higher end and silver and bronze for the lower end. And then I believe the cap for Battlefield 1 is ridiculously low. So, I mean, just looking at the pool as well, if you go to Pool 1, there's over 3,500 guilds there. You're more likely to get matched up against a team that's going to be in your wheelhouse, or even in Battlefield 2 against a team in your wheelhouse, than you are going to ones with lesser. Like if you were to jump into 5, you'd be absolutely decimated as a guild not prepared. There's only 93 guilds in there. You're not going to have a good time. It's just not going to happen. And don't let anybody kind of fool you in that regard. Numbers are important, though. Don't get me wrong. Again, attendance is important, but you want to be able to at least be able to clear the board, or at least have a good chance of clearing the board. So with that being said, you want to play at cap. You want to have it to where your guys are able to field the units feel good about their defenses, feel good about being able to fight back on even footing, because with all the building buffs and everything else, not only are you fighting against a stat cap if you're going against Diamond 3 units with like Diamond 1 or Gold units or Diamond 2, you're you're fighting against those buffs on top of that. So it's not just, you can't go into it being like, well, Kage, in Arena, I could take out a D3 team, no problem. This is an Arena. There's different metrics associated with this. There's different terrains associated. The various combinations of buffs, the med bay, all sorts of things come into effect that could really ruin somebody's day. And I mean, I've seen it where people told me that they threw like 25 tokens into one set and they didn't take down the D3 top end team. That's not fun. And it just shows that, your guild shouldn't be in that situation. And that's a you thing. I get wanting more tokens. I get thinking, ooh, you can get a higher multiplier, but you don't get a higher multiplier if you lose. And people don't get more tokens if they can't clear buildings. So, yeah. So, I mean, if you're a newer guild, you got a bunch of level 20s or 30s, there's no shame doing one. They've made one a lot more friendlier for you guys now, and I'm happy about that. If you're, a guild like mine where, we've got, like, people level 30 to 50, there's no way we're doing Battlefield 3 at the rarity cap. It's just not happening. We haven't been playing for a year. We still got a ways to go. Heck, I mean, I think I'm on. Where am I at for Diamond 3 characters? I can't field 2 teams of Diamond 3s. No, I've got three Diamond 3 characters right now. I would need 7 more, and that's not including skill books or other things. Where, as a newer player, obvious disadvantage there because I still have to work on that to kind of min-max. So the disparity in power is there. And again, I do wish that Battlefield 3 would go down to Diamond 1, because then I'd only have to get 2 more characters to Diamond 1 to be able to have my rarity set, and other people could do the same, and then they could keep 4 and 5 to Diamond 3. Will that ever happen? I don't know. I still think it might be off the table given how the back end of the game is, but I'm not a developer. I can't speak to that. That's just my best guess in the situation. They could prove me wrong. They could, make something to where Diamond 1 is the cap, but I don't know. But with that being said, again, it's all about looking at what you have, looking at what your team has, and there's no shame in doing Battlefield 1 and being with the majority of the guilds and getting into some close fights there. Are you still going to have some fights where they're going to be pretty one-sided? Yes. And you may ask, why is that? And the majority of the data I collected is it's mainly from participation. All of the guilds we fought, for the most part, were close in power, except I think the first one. First one was a little wonky. And they could have potentially won. Like, we fought, like, I think it was IVS. They were a chapter guild of some group, and they didn't have 30. They got steamrolled. They lost horribly. They had 29. They were down a person, and they got absolutely steamrolled in that type of battle. One person down makes a difference in when you're fighting a competitive guild. And most of the guilds we fought, they weren't just down one person. They were down like 4 or 5 people. They ended the fight with like 100 plus tokens left. So not only were they down a bunch of people and they started with less tokens, they also ended with more tokens than us. So it was like a double whammy. So participation is definitely something that's going to hurt you. And again, with the new season, you can definitely see who's got what, who's doing, where the tokens are. So you can push on that if you wanted to. It's stressful. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you could at least see who's participating, and if you do have to make some adjustments, it's there. So again, these are just recommendations. I get it. You know, some people want to challenge themselves, but if you're like me and other people, I just want to win. I don't care about the challenge. I'm not here to try and get into a dogfight every guild war. I'm here to get as many goodies for my guys as possible with as little effort as possible. And if we do have a tough fight, we hunker down, and we've only lost one tough fight out of every battle we've had. So I mean, we've only lost one fight total, and that was again when we didn't have the full 30, which speaks to something to itself. If we had 30, strong chance we could have won that battle. But you know, it is what it is. It just goes to show that, you know, we're still a pretty new guild, because we came into this and our cap for what we could have was 29 at the time. Now, you know, we're slowly getting towards level 30. But anyway, these are things for you guys to consider, to look at. And, you know, if you have a guild leader, have them watch this video. Have them take a look at it if they're on the fence. Have them, you know, look at the points I'm bringing up here, because again, there's no sense going and trying to get 75 more tokens for a win, and then you come out and you end up only winning like 2 to 4 matches. It defeats the entire purpose of what you were trying to go for. Whereas, let's say you do Battlefield 1 or 2, and you've got the cap, you're doing pretty good, and you walk away with like 5 to 6 wins. You're ahead of the game. You've got most of the win boxes. And I have shown that you can do Battlefield 2 if you win every match and get top 250. Will that be the same for this season with the new buildings and everything? I don't know. But that is something to consider there. Well, with that being said, I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. I know there's some lunatics out there who are still going to be like, well, you've got 30 people, so you should go to this. I'm just gonna nip this in the bud here. The amount of people you have has very little bearing on the actual matchmaking. It's not about the number of people. It's about what units those people have and if they are even there to begin with. So, yeah. Yeah, you can take that one and shove it. Anyway, with that being said, I hope this video is helpful. I was kind of on the edge for doing this video because, again, to some extent, I don't want to help people out. I don't want to teach people how to do all this stuff because I like the advantage we have. But at the same time, I also don't want to see people just be lemmings and just get absolutely devastated because of silly decisions by one guy who's like, well, this dude on the Discord, he said if we go into this one because our power's so low, we won't get matched up with these bad people and we'll win. And then we got matched up with this bad team and they did horrible things to us and my guys hate this mode now. And it's like, yeah. Anyway, that being said, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.